as I spend time on social media and listen to some of the things that my clients say when they come into my practice, I think that it's something that I've got to do. Myth busting around some of our common misconceptions when it comes to women's health is probably one of the biggest core themes of Reproductive Rebel. In this week's episode, I am going to take a look at the phrase birth control regulates my cycle. Have you heard that from a practitioner, or is that something that you believe? If it is, this is an episode that you won't want to miss. Join me this week as I take some time to take apart and unpack exactly what birth control is doing and how it actually is not regulating anything.
Hi, I'm Adrienne Irizarry. I'm an Eastern medicine practitioner who is passionate about women's health and helping women live their best lives. My goal is to put you in the driver's seat of your health, offering period solutions for a symptom-free life. Statements made in this program are for educational purposes only and not intended as a substitution for medical consultation or advice. We do not claim to diagnose, treat, or cure any diseases. This podcast is inclusive and welcomes all gender identities. The focus of the program is on biological function, and we will use the term women throughout, but it is referencing physiological and social challenges for biology, not identity. Come as you are, I am happy you're here and welcome all performances of identity. I hope you find something helpful in this show.
Welcome back to another episode of Reproductive Rebel. I have heard this turn of phrase so much recently that I am just totally feeling called to doing an episode about it. So bear with me while I rant a little bit. But I think that it is really, really important to draw the distinction from a language perspective. So one thing that I have heard so much, and I see it in videos and reels online, I see it in infographics, is we have a massive misconception in our culture around what birth control does when it comes to our period. Let me start by clarifying that you do not have a period on birth control. You have what is called a withdrawal bleed. There is nothing about birth control that regulates your cycle. Okay, so I see these phrases a lot in conversation, in social media, all of these kinds of things where people are like, they come in and they go, yeah, my doctor, because I was having problems with my period, put me on birth control to regulate my cycle. I hear that all the time. I was put on birth control to regulate my cycle. How many of you, raise your hand. Maybe you're driving, so don't do that. But how many of you were put on birth control with a doctor telling you it was to regulate your cycle? I'm raising my own hand as I'm doing this recording because I was also one of these people. I started having birth control in my life as early as 14 years old. And it wasn't because I was sexually active. It was because I was having period problems. My period started having problems right out of the gate. I was at that debilitating period pain ruling my life point by the time I was 14, and I started bleeding at 12. Like so many of you, my mother took me to the doctor because she was like, oh, dear Lord, like she can't live like this. She's missing school. She's having problems. She can't even function. She's not living in her life. She's still so young. What's going on? And the doctor's solution was, we're going to regulate her cycle with birth control. So many of us have, quote unquote, had our cycles regulated with birth control. I know that I did an episode about birth control last season, so some of this may be repetitive, but if you are new to this show, birth control does not regulate anything. It is a medication that is designed to interrupt a healthy process in the body. Having your hormones go through their monthly cycle is a healthy performance of a biological female body. We often introduce this system interrupt, birth control, hormonal birth control, while the body is doing its practice process where it is learning to bring all of your concert of hormones online so that you start cycling in a healthy way. But because it's symptomatic due to a whole long list of reasons, the Western medical model only has two tools when it comes to reproductive health: hormones and surgery. That's it. That is their toolkit. And that is what they offer. I have to laugh because I don't know if you are familiar with Kim Anami. I think she's fabulous. And she had a series of memes that came up on her Instagram the other day that said, when you go to the doctor because you're feeling a little bit down, the best I could do is a total hysterectomy. When your periods are a little off, the best I could do is total hysterectomy. And she had a whole series of these images, and I laughed so hard, because one of them is like, when your doctor has no idea how to help you reverse your prolapse, the best I could do is a total hysterectomy. So essentially it was like the idea, something like you go into the doctor for a simple checkup, and then the doctor's response is, the best I can do is a total hysterectomy, right? And I laughed because they do the same thing with birth control. It's either hormones or surgery, because that is what they are trained to do. That is the extent of their toolkit. I am not damning that. What I am saying is that there's a lot of things that you can do that don't require either of those things. But going back to what I was saying about birth control being a system interrupt, there has been a collective misunderstanding that birth control regulates cycles, and it doesn't. It stops them. It makes it so that you cannot conceive. There's lots of ways that it achieves this, but in no way is that medication regulating anything. So you are actually not having a period when you're on birth control. You're not. Do you bleed? Yes. But you know what? That is programmed in to the process. That is not a true period. You have to ovulate to have a true period. And you're not. So I know that I'm repeating myself, but I feel like there's like this marketing concept that it takes 7 touches to make a message stick. So I am going to keep saying this through this whole episode. You might get sick of me, but hang through to the end because this is so critically important. Because I hear it all the time. Anyone I have ever worked with who is on birth control has uttered the statement that they are on birth control to regulate their cycle because they went on it. I mean, yes, contraception might have been like a small factor in the whole thing, but the vast majority of women go on some sort of hormonal birth control because they are having cycle-related problems. If you're using it for contraception, fine, but please use the right vocabulary because it is not regulating anything and you are not having a true period. You are having a withdrawal bleed. So it's important to understand this. And it's important to share this message with other women who use this phrase. Maybe you share this episode with them. I don't know how well it'll be received, but I'm putting this out there because this is how critical this small clarification around language actually is. Okay? Because if somebody has been on hormonal birth control and they have an understanding because of how their doctor words it and how society around them talks about it, that hormonal birth control is regulating their cycle, they have no reason to believe that coming off of birth control will cause any problems. Why? Because the medication's been regulating me for 10 years. Bullshit. It has been stopping your body from knowing how to communicate effectively with itself for however many years you've been on it. So now let's fast forward to people who've been on it for 10 years and then they go off of it to try to have a baby. Your body might still not be ovulating 6 months after you get off of this shit because it is not regulating you. It is not regulating anything. It is preventing your body from its normal expression of hormones. Because the intended outcome of contraception is exactly that, to prevent you from getting pregnant. So when you start using it to quote unquote regulate, because somebody is having unhealthy expression of symptoms that are disrupting their quality of life, you're not regulating, you're not making anything healthier. So then that person who had period problems, who went on this thing thinking it was regulating their cycle and helping them to be healthier, because people truly believe that. There are very few people who sit down with the rice paper insert and go, holy shit, this medication could fucking kill me. It could. And unfortunately, it's doled out kind of like candy. Maybe that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but it is very readily accessible. It is very easy for people to get a hold of birth control in general. Now, there might be certain parts of the country that's not the case now because we're in a post-Roe versus Wade era. But, and when I say the country, I'm talking about the United States because I'm in the US, but it is not regulating anything. So people go off of taking this birth control for 10 plus years thinking that it is regulating their system. And then they try to get pregnant because what is told to them by their practitioner, their doctor, is that once they have one cycle off of birth control, they can start trying to get pregnant. You can start trying. It doesn't mean you're ovulating. And a lot of times when that is the case, people go, oh, I'm throwing out my pill packet. I can get pregnant next month. They truly believe that. And then are mystified when they're 6 to 9 months into trying and they're not successful and they haven't been successful. So it is critically important for everyone to understand that hormonal birth control is not regulating your body. It is interrupting the expression of hormones that is normal in your body to prevent pregnancy from occurring. Whether that is the reason why you started taking it in the first place or not, that is what that drug is designed to do. And because that's what it's designed to do, it is not creating any level of balance in your system. I see so much heartache in the fertility journey because of this misconception, which is why I wanted to myth bust. If you've been on hormonal birth control for a long period of time, and I'm talking like a year or longer, there is work that really needs to be done when you come off of it in order to know that you are reestablishing healthy ovulation and that your body will be able to conceive. Knowing how your body works and what the phases of your cycle are supposed to look like, what they're supposed to do, how you're supposed to feel in all of those phases is something that isn't addressed enough. Collective misunderstanding in our culture about what our bodies are supposed to do. We are not properly taught how the female body works. We are taught how an egg and a sperm come together and that you're going to bleed if you're not pregnant. That's like pretty much the extent of body literacy education in the United States for women's bodies. And actually, this is bigger than the United States because I've had this exact same conversation with international clients. So this is like a Western culture kind of problem. In general, we are not taught how our bodies work. So not only can we not even try to prevent pregnancy naturally, we also don't know what healthy and normal are supposed to look like so that we can identify problems before they become so massive that they are interrupting our life. I really believe that if this level of education was provided at a younger age, and because you can have a body literacy conversation that isn't sexually focused, you can have an age-appropriate body literacy conversation. And the younger that young women are empowered with this information, the easier it becomes for them to make empowered decisions and know when they need to seek intervention and know how to prevent pregnancy and then be able to see the full spectrum of options available to them if contraception is what they indeed want to do. If I could go back and never go on birth control, I truly believe my life would have been very different. I would have chosen different partners because birth control makes you attracted to brother and not other. Your sexual mates literally smell different to you at a chemical level when you are on birth control. I am not demonizing birth control. It is a suitable option for certain people. But the thing is we are generally making the decision to go on it with a very big lack of information about the risks involved, about what it does to our hormones and our hormone expression, what it does for our cycles, and what potential outcomes it could cause in the future for fertility. Not to mention, I've seen some early speculation around bone density challenges in older years with prolonged birth control use. And I think that that data is going to start coming more to the forefront as we go along, because my generation is really where birth control use increased for fill in the blank reasons. Just like those memes that Kim and Ami had up the other day that made me laugh so hard about the fact that the hysterectomy is the solve all for everything. Well, birth control is also used the same way. And with a little bit of body literacy, now you're in the driver's seat of how you're supposed to feel, how to prevent pregnancy. You can only get pregnant 7 days out of the month, guys. 7 fucking days. That's it. And we're led to believe, because we have an abstinence-only culture, we are led to believe we can get pregnant all month. We can't. We cannot. Our bodies physically are sperm-killing machines most of the month. We are not alkaline enough for sperm to survive in our system until we're in that 7-day fertile window. So knowing what this drug is actually doing in your system is important for your current decisions, as well as what you may want out of your life in the future. So this episode is going to be fairly short, but I just had to get on and record this because there are so many people that truly believe that birth control is regulating their cycle. And I have to suppress an eye roll every time I hear it, because the collective narrative has done such a good job telling people that that's what this drug does. And that's not what it does at all. And there are very real risks. I had a heart attack on birth control, guys. I say this literally from my heart because I want you to be able to make more empowered decisions than I was able to. We do what we can do with the information that we have. My mom made the best decision she could at that time because she didn't know what she didn't know. That's the whole reason Reproductive Rebel exists, is because there are so many things like birth control does not regulate your cycle that the population believes and understands as truth. And I'm here to myth bust some of this stuff because you deserve to be able to make aligned and empowered decisions for you and your health and your future. And you can't do that to the best of your ability if you do not have all of the information. You can't. You do the best you can with what you have. So don't internalize any of this and feel bad like I made a horrible decision for myself. I had a heart attack at 25 that obviously sent me catapulting off of birth control and anything hormonal. And I learned about my body as I went along. But I feel like it's my duty to teach others what I learned, because I don't want anyone else making the same decisions that I did due to a collective lack of information. We deserve to know this stuff. We are the ones living in this assigned at birth female body. We are the ones that are making the decisions that feel aligned and don't set off all of our little gut bells that say, no, don't do it, right? So birth control does not regulate your cycle. It does not regulate your period. Your quote unquote bleed symptoms often do change when you are taking birth control, but it's because it's changing the biochemistry of your body. That's why shit changes, because it's changing your hormone expression. Your body is not physically operating the same way. This is why one of the side effects can be mood disorders, because it's changing the way your body communicates with itself. Because our sex hormones and the expression of our sex hormones, the operation of our sex hormones are important for so many facets of our life. Our bone density, our mental health, our metabolism. All of these things are intimately and intricately connected to a healthy expression of hormones in the body. When you're preventing that and stopping that, it changes the landscape of your body. So if you're making the decision to take it from an aligned place with full disclosure information, that is fine. But I am saying all of this because a lot of people are making this decision with only partial information and knowing what they don't know often express that they would make a different choice. I know I would have. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. Birth control is not regulating your hormones. It is suppressing them. How do you want to show up in the world? Thank you for joining me for another episode of Reproductive Rebel. Reproductive Rebel is recorded by certified peri-steam hydrotherapist and acutonics practitioner, herbalist, and Chinese nutritional therapist, Adrienne Irizarry of Moon Essence LLC. If you are interested in setting up an appointment for one-on-one support, ordering from our store, or checking out our course offerings, visit our website at moonessence.life. Be sure to subscribe to our newsletter and get insider information on upcoming events and offerings. Join the conversation. Like and follow us at MoonEssenceMe on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. Your voices make this program possible. Thank you all for your continued support.